the volleyball game shooting. My name is Bill. Welcome to the Night Terrors Weekend Show, and we're starting right now. Welcome to, well, there's so many, Green Tea and Eldergrown. Welcome to Takahama Plateau, and Gotcha Man is here. My Banned by YouTube series drops an episode every Wednesday morning. YouTube said, take down 3 years of your videos. These videos are no longer on the channel. The only way you can see them is to catch them on Wednesday. If you value what I do on the Night Terrors streams and in the Night Terrors videos, one way to support the channel is through Patreon. Become a patron of the show by clicking on the Patreon link in the description below. Thank you for supporting the show. All right, guys. Let's get started. Welcome, David Bryce Jr., who says, good evening. Eldergrown, thank you for the super chat. Eldergrown says, let's see if super chat works this week. Thank you, Elder. Elder also just became, along with Takahama Plateau, they both extended their memberships on Twitch. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated. Verpine has arrived. Welcome, Verpine. Brooke Birch says good evening to all. Verpine says good evening. Here at noirnexus.com is a story written by Jessica Elliott entitled The Mystery of the 2006 Volleyball Incident. And I skipped the part I'm supposed to read, I think. There we go. If you're a fan of mystery icebergs or conspiracy theories, then you have probably heard about something called the 2006 Volleyball Incident. The story goes that in 2006, an unnamed assailant would enter a high school volleyball court, welcome Rhino Rex, and open fire on the attendees. However, the strange part comes with the fact that there is little to no information about this incident on the internet. Nevertheless, people in surrounding areas to where this supposedly happened stand their ground that this did occur, and they seem to remember every detail. Searching for the phrase 2006 Volleyball Incident on Google will return under 1,000 results, showing how obscure this conspiracy really is. The main mentions of the phrase come from 4chan, Reddit, and iceberg charts. But no one seems to be able to provide a concrete answer as to what exactly happened. Despite that, some key facts have been decided upon. There was an attack during a high school volleyball game in either Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Oregon, Montana, or Utah. Thank you, Verpine, for the topic. We also have one from Rhino Rex. Let's grab that one first. It's a URL. Oh, yeah, Tycho Brahe. Where's his metal hand? Thank you, Rhino Rex. Thank you, Verpine. Ooh, that looks good, Verpine. Thank you. We'll move that over. And got it. There we go. I've also heard it described as an attack that took place in one of the states that are adjacent to North and South Dakota. There was an attack during a high school volleyball game. The list of states seems to be narrowed down to either Nebraska, South Dakota, or North Dakota. as those seem to be the ones that pop up most often. It is claimed that between 17 to 24 people lost their lives that day, and that one of two things happened afterwards. One possibility is that there was news coverage of the event, but it was local and never went mainstream. The second possibility is that no information was ever made public, and news outlets were told not to cover it, with the victims being forgotten about over time. The second one leans much more into the conspiracy, as some people even suspect government involvement. I don't understand that, but let's continue. But if I had to pick one, writes the author, of these options, I would go with the first one, as it would explain why people in the surrounding areas seem to remember the event, but the rest of the world has no recollection. Rapine says, wow, I live in South Dakota, and I've never heard of this volleyball shooting conspiracy. People continue to claim that law enforcement tampered with evidence and records due to the lack of information about this event online. If you try to search for it, no news articles will appear, and no matter how hard you search, you will find no obits that make mention of the shooting. The story continues as people claim that you can find lots of information about this on the dark web. And we have a little fair use video coming up from the dark web. However, it seems as if some people have looked for it there and still nothing turned up. If they looked, they weren't that good, because it took me less than an hour. It wasn't easy, but it was less than 60 minutes. Thank you, Rapine, for subscribing with Prime. By the way, folks, you have one free subscription to Twitch with Prime, to one Twitch channel, and you should make it Night Terrors. However, it seems as if some people have looked for it there, and still nothing turned up. Some people have. I saw their posts in the dark web. With this, we can safely say that this was a false lead. I don't know. I got some pictures from there. Kenga Kong is here and asking, did a lot of people die during volleyball games? Kenga, this is about one volleyball game in particular, about which there seems little information, considering it was purported to be a mass shooting. Aldegrone says the dark web is tricky, no doubt. Synchro is here. Welcome, Synchro. Michael provides all the incidental music for the show. The story continues as people claim you can find lots of information about this on the dark web. You can find information about it. We'll see part of that coming up under fair use. The theories surrounding who carried out the attack are also very interesting. A lot of people believe that members of the U.S. government were in attendance that night to assassinate a target. However, at some point, things took a turn, and people were caught in the crossfire. Others claimed that the hired hitman was responsible for the attack, and that the situation was the same, and that the other attendees were simply collateral damage. So with all the information laid out, let's go over the theories. The first theory is that this actually happened, and it was covered up by the government due to either an assassination plot, spiraling out of control, or some other unknown reason. Welcome, Aaron. The theory goes that there was someone at the game that night who the government considered dangerous. They took their chance, but civilian casualties occurred, and thus they created a plan to erase all records of the incident. and paid the families of the victims to keep their mouths shut regarding this event. The next theory states that in the 2006 volleyball incident, it was actually a case of extreme Mandela effect. And for the people who aren't really into the government conspiracy side of things, this is what they may choose to believe. The reason I say this is an extreme case is because, like I mentioned before, mass amounts of people in the surrounding area reportedly remember the attack happening and can give specific details about it. Well, that is exactly the Mandela effect. A localized one, to be sure, but it is the same thing. I see a post, continues the author, by someone who vividly remembers it, but supposedly they exist, just not on the internet. Some people believe that the 2006 volleyball incident was actually confused with the 2014 attack at a volleyball game in Afghanistan. At that one, 45 people had their lives taken, and 60 others were injured after a man exploded himself in the middle of a volleyball game. Considering there are no mentions of the 2006 incident on the internet until 2017, it might be the case is that this is what people are thinking about. However, if that were the case, what happened to cause the multiple year difference between 2014 to 2006? The next theory that ties in with the first result that comes up, should you search for 2006 volleyball incident, is that the Platte Canyon High School hostage crisis. The Platte Canyon High School hostage crisis occurred in September of 2006, when a 53-year-old man would take 7 female students hostage, volleyball teams being often female. Oh my God, he would, what do they call it, essay them before allowing 6 of them to leave. He would take the life of one girl before ending his own. What a sick, twisted MFer. The incident occurred in Colorado. Is this a case of misremembering, or is this a different incident entirely? You get different answers depending on who you ask. All right, now we have, I'm going to reveal now what I found on the dark web. And I got some special disclaimers here. The first of which is fair use. This is the fair use notice. And I believe this qualifies under fair use. This clip is only 41 seconds long, and it's from a show that's either 1 or 2 hours in length. I forget. I'm going to credit that show in a second. I believe it is covered under commentary, and the next placard we have to show is the credit. Let's X out of this completely. Where's that credit? There it is. Here's the very beginning of that video, of a captured screenshot from the very beginning of it. It's at the channel Some Ordinary Gamers, all one word, as you can see here on the screen. Title of the video is I Found a Disturbing Cult Website on Deep Web 209. And as you can see, the exact URL of this video is at the top of the page here. Now I'm going to play this snippet. And that is right here. Let me grab my headphones. I wish I knew where they were, or they're hanging up. Well, I'll just have to imagine what he's talking about, I guess. This should play audio. I tested it earlier. Keep your fingers crossed. Welcome, Taoist viewer. Good evening.
So right here, let's go down a little bit over here. They've got 2006 volley. Oh my God. Oh, we're going to have to blur this one. Jesus Christ. That's actually like death footage. I think I remember this. I was searching around for some sort of proof of this happening, and apparently it's a snippet from a home video. Oh my God. We have to blur that out. I got to make sure we note that, blur it real quick. Let me add that to the notes here. Jesus. It's like an actual straight up bloody massacre. It's like VHS recorded. It's just blood and guts everywhere, dead bodies.
That's the clip. And by the way, since I found the original website that guy was looking at, that's what I did during my hour of research. I was able to get those pictures. I'm not going to show them here, but they are available to be seen if you're a Patreon member. So I've already posted them to Patreon if you're interested in the exact gory images. There's, I think, 6 in total. The first one's extremely grainy, so I don't know why he was so shocked at the first one. I really didn't see anything in it except for a volleyball game. But those are available to you if you're a Patreon member. And now they have some kind of pay-per-view thing. I tried to set it at $1. They wouldn't let me set it that low. They have a minimum. So if you're into that and you're not a member, you can also visit Patreon. The link's in the description below for Patreon. In that case, you don't have to join. Just shell out the pay-per-view and you'll be able to see those graphic images. All right. We're up to 17 minutes past the hour, and we're ready for some excellent viewer suggestions. The first of which comes from Green Tea. And I'm going to do this I'm going to do this here, I think. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to do this one here. And that is the Superstition Mountains. Let's check it out. Thank you, Green Tea. Green Tea says it's okay if you get up to get your headphones. We won't look. Well, my pants are a little sloppy. I'm not like one of those newscasters that's wearing briefs. I saw that too late, however. At Lost Dutchman State Park. Interesting. Superstition Mountains. More hikers disappear in Superstition Mountains than... They won't tell us the full title. How about this? No sleep on Reddit. No, that's a sleepy. That's a creepypasta site. History of the Superstition Mountains. Beauty and Tragedy. Let's try Beauty and Tragedy. I'm not seeing anything really weird yet. Let's go to next. Evidently, the Lost Dutchman mine is somewhere around there. They have a Lost Dutchman museum. Superstition Wilderness Area. Legend of. Cleaning up. Looks like we're going to have to go back to that page 1. Let's go to phoenixghosts.com. And here, in a story by uncredited so far, sources. Book a Phoenix Ghost Tour, evidently written by the Phoenix Ghost Tours cast or company. And we'll take it. The Superstition Mountains are a series of jagged mountains resembling serrated teeth, sticking into the desert sky at the edge of Tonto National Forest. Aaron says someone's gone missing in the Superstition Mountains. Park rangers say it must be Tuesday. Laying east of Phoenix, they cast an ominous shadow on the metropolitan area, filled with ghost tales, monster encounters, and tales of UFOs. They are as mysterious as the devil himself. And for all those dark tourism enthusiasts, full of legends and weird happenings. Ready to learn more about the most haunted places in Arizona? Book a tour. Once called Sierra de la Espuma. Foam Mountains by the Spanish. Welcome, little beastie, who says evening to everyone. Long time no see. Welcome back, little beastie, our prodigal son. The Superstition Mountains are known for their picturesque panoramic views of the surrounding desert, perilous trails, and a slew of paranormal legends. A free-for-all for wilderness lovers, the area has become synonymous with James Franco's film 127 Hours. Good film, by the way. Verpine says, I've been to the Superstition Mountains. Luckily, I made it out. Or did I? In the movie 127 Hours, he's like, he's stranded because like he's caught between two rocks or something. He falls into a crevasse or a crevice. One or the other. And he has, in order to get out of he has to chew off his own arm or something. I forget exactly what. Sorry for the spoilers. Good movie, though, and I love James Franco. Apache peoples honored and revered the mountains, claiming them as their ancestral home. Ever since Miguel Peralta's ancestor, Antonio de Peralta, was murdered in 1799 by angry Apaches, the legend of the Superstition Mountain has grown. Mystery oozes out of the mountain before this disputed arrival and continues today. Verpine says, I think he cuts off his own arm with a knife. Oh, goodness. Settlements of a long-gone civilization, like the Yokoham people, have been discovered in the mountain range along treacherous cliffs. When the European settlers arrived, it had long been a stronghold for the Apache and Pima people. They believed that a gateway to the underworld lay within the mountains. Anglo settlers began calling them the Superstition Mountains. It's full of legends, but none are more well known than the lost Dutchman's gold mine, leading to many disappearances. Thank you, Verpine, for the super chat. Verpine sends it looks like a dancing baby bottle. Thank you, Verpine. No doubt the lost Dutchman mine has led to many disappearances, as well as bouts of insanity and mysterious death. According to folk tales, the gold mine is a magnificent, rich, Scrooge McDuck-like repository of gold hidden somewhere in the southwestern U.S. Most folks believe that a cache of shiny treasure is hidden deep in the Superstitious Mountains near Apache Junction. Like all great legends and Indiana Jones-like ventures, the search for the mine is littered with betrayal, spirit beings, backstabbing desperados, unexplained vanishings, and sudden death. The story differs, but the most common take out of 62 different versions, and I'm sure there are more, goes like this. In the 1840s, Miguel Peralta found a plentiful gold mine deep within the mountains. They transported this precious mineral to their home for many years. First of all, you probably look for proof of that. Proof of Peralta's wealth. All right. And if you find that first, let's continue the search. I'm going to go there and risk cutting off my own arm and or leg or whatever. Rhino Rex says, why did that list read like a side effect listing for a new medicine? And in some cases, sudden adult death syndrome. In 1848, the family was attacked and butchered in the so-called Peralta Massacre. Famed Apache warrior Geronimo was often discussed in that story, but he likely was not involved. Kenga Kong says, that guy in the movie cut off his hand at the wrist. I met him several times. He was friends with my friend. He was high off his gourd when he cut. Shrooms and weed. He got rich from it. Yeah, they bought the rights to his story. We do not condone getting high off shrooms and weed. Especially not in the Superstition Mountain area, where you can fall into a crevasse. T. Plateau says yes, he bought more. The Apache tribe buried the gold and covered the mine to prevent any outsiders from invading their stronghold again. Now, how would they know that? I mean, if they attacked and butchered them at the mine, how did anybody know about it in the first place? Because the Apaches are not going to the press, obviously. So I'm thinking they attacked them somewhere not at the mine that was found by some YT guy who told the press about it. Another thing to investigate. Elder Groan says, the evil got into my hand. But that didn't stop it. Only 2 members survived the brutal attack. Oh, okay, here we go. And brought back tales of its location with them. Okay, if 2 members survived, then the Apaches must have left them there, right? We got to find the whole story about this. Soon, German immigrant Jacob Waltz, among many other ambitious men, got word of its location through a Peralta family member. The mine is now named after him. Jacob Waltz's mine? What's the name of the mine again? Oh, the Lost Dutchman. Waltz. Jakob Waltz. Although it may sound odd that a Dutch mine is named after a German immigrant, back then the American term for German was Deutsch, which is the correct term, actually. One little misspelling here, an illiterate vagrant telling tall tales over there, a shoddy reporter, and the name is suddenly transformed into Dutch. Waltz and his partner Jacob Weiser, began searching for the mine in the 1870s. I thought that one of them had directions. They had limited discuss discovering and then working the mine for some time. Then they too encountered the Apaches. Limited success. So is it like played out? I don't want to kill myself. But not before hiding a large cache of treasure, believed to be near what is now Weaver's Needle. And how do they know that? Waltz somehow survived, a bloodied pulp of a man. Weiser not so lucky. Excuse me. The two were likely brutally ambushed by the Apaches, but some say Waltz unalived his friend and partner. I thought they were also related. No, I guess they were just both Deutsch or German. A corpse was later found and ID'd as belonging to Weiser. Coroners were unable to state whether Apache weapons or American-made knives caused the lacerations and wounds that marked his body. In other words, coroners with very little experience in Apache wounds. Waltz settled in Phoenix and remained in poor health for the next 20 years. Before he died in 1891, he befriended a woman, Julia Thomas, and the legend continued. Thomas had been caring for her ailing neighbor and was given the secrets to the mine's location. In return, the following year, Thomas sold all her belongings for provisions and continued the search with two brothers, Herman and Reinhard Petrasch. Now I'm kind of assuming the mine's real, since it was successfully, evidently, mined by two consecutive parties. And there's a third going out to do the same. Jordan Cockburn has arrived. Welcome, Jordan. Jonathan A. says hello. Welcome, John. T. Plateau questions the intelligence of said woman. The only problem was that Thomas and Herman, who had been working for her for years together, were drunk when Waltz revealed the mine's secret location. With a hazy memory, they set forth with a wagon, some gear, and a team of excavators. An effort that proved useless while traversing the treacherous trails of the Superstition Mountains. Their search ended in failure. 3 weeks into the journey, the three collapsed from dehydration and returned to Phoenix in slightly better shape than Waltz. King Kong continuing her association with the original person who got stuck in the crevasse in the Superstition Mountains. And she says, for any skeptics out there, I can prove it. I saw his stump in person. As I recall, I think he got a prosthetic sometime after. Regardless of the case, the state he was in at the time, it was traumatic for him. He had accepted that he would not make it out alive. I think she says that in his frightened state, he might have cut off more than necessary. The two brothers continued to search for the mine, obsessed with its bountiful treasures for years. Thomas married a farmer and produced the first maps of the lost Dutchman's gold mine for anyone crazy enough to seek it using their version. Jonathan A. says, I've had a fascination with the Superstition Mountains ever since I learned about them. It's on my list of things to do. Definitely take a partner with you. Don't go alone. The Black Queen and Mammoth mines were discovered after a flash flood swept the area, only a year after the disastrous Thomas expedition. Eventually, these mines produced $2 million worth of gold for those lucky enough to stumble upon them. Was the lost Dutchman's gold mine finally found? Well, you would think that they would have included those details about the Black Queen and the Mammoth. Okay, we're going to, at 36 past the hour, we're going to go to the next suggestion. Yeah, we can do that. Which is from Takama Plateau. To it. Something that happened in New York in 1997. It was an interesting one. I remember that. Jonathan A. says, hey, Bill, you should lead an expedition to find the mine. I'd follow you. Thanks, Jonathan. We got to do some good research on that. Oh, yeah, this is the one about the baby Bigfoot. Thank you, T. Plateau. And surprise, it didn't get unalived in Australia. Just kidding, T. Plateau. Big baby Bigfoot seen near Lake Lembo, Modena, New York in 1997. On May 23rd. No, that's the AI summary. Let's look at like an official Bigfoot site. Something like that. Is there a Wikipedia entry? Record online. Welcome, Tina T. Tina Tomaszewski has arrived. Tina is one of the original gangsters of Night Terrors. Welcome, Tina. We just started doing the baby Sasquatch. Let's try the AI first, and we'll branch off from there. On May the 23rd, 1997, Doug Pridgeon and his friends were camping at Lembo Lake Campground in Medina, New York, which is within traveling distance of my abode here. During a rock concert, when they inadvertently captured footage of an unidentified figure in the trees behind them. The video, shot with a Video 8 Sony Handycam, shows a small ape-like figure swinging between trees approximately 100 feet away from the campers and moving with apparent ease. Pridgeon's girlfriend first noticed the figures while transferring the tape to a new format years later, around 2003. The footage, which has been analyzed by researchers like Steve Squatch Detective Culls and D.W. Darkwing Lee, shows two figures, a larger one on the ground and a smaller one that climbs a tree and swings. The property owner, Mike Lembo, confirmed that pets were not permitted at the campground due to insurance reasons. And no nearby zoos or game farms reported losing primates during that time. Maybe later or before. No. Despite the lack of evidence for a primate escape, the footage has been cited as a potential juvenile Bigfoot sighting, with researchers concluding it was not a hoax. However, alternative explanations, we don't want to hear them. Pet monkey with its owner. Have you been to Modena? I might have been. It's a small New York town, I believe. Let's find out. Modena, New York. And that is here. Modena. Let's see how close it is to me. When I worked as a computer repair technician, I went all over, because those jobs paid the best. My favorite jobs was faraway jobs. Look how small Modena is. Oh my goodness. It's tiny. Let me see where it's near to so I can tell you how far I am from it. Minus. It's near what? Montgomery. I know. Oh, near Fishkill? I don't know if I was ever down as far as Fishkill. I think once, maybe. Oneonta, Catskill, Kingston. No, I'm going to have to say I never went as far as Modena. I've been as far as Kingston right here. And I'm up here. So if I had just gone a little bit more, I would have been able to find Modena. It is tiny. It looks like less than 2,000 people. Wow. Yeah, it's a tiny town. Lost the thing. Where did that thing pop up? Oh, it went here, right? And then we went to a website, right? Or did we not go to a website yet? We did not yet. Oh, no, we're talking about swinging monkeys and stuff, right? The other explanations. Human child swinging in the tree. Flag on an antenna. More consistent with a human or a non-primate. Movement considered more consistent with a human animal or a non-primate. The video remains subject of debate. So we need a link to the pigeon video of a Bigfoot. So, no, we can't see that video. Link to a story about. So let me get that. Oh, I didn't start the dragon. Oh, sorry, guys. I got to start it now. Open, please. Fortunately, on this zippy computer, it is immediate. I need a link to a story about the pigeon Bigfoot. Can't speak while the dragon's on, or else it'll write something else. Here are a few links. Squatch Detective. Well, we heard about him. Let's go to that one. Welcome to SquatchDetective.com. The Pigeon Video, 1997. The event. Jonathan A. wants to know, what's the weather like here? It is cold and clear. And in the day, it's like 80. At the night, it's like 40. That reminds me, I got to 2, 3, 4, We'll do it 4 clicks here. On May the 23rd, 1997, Doug Pridgeon and his wife were camping at Lembo Lake Campground, located in Modena, in the heart of New York's apple country. Yeah, you can go out, you can pick your own apples out here. We have a festival, not a festival. We have a orchard not 15 minutes from the studio. A music festival was occurring at the campground, and pets were not permitted at the campground. A couple in which whose tent was visible in the film was working the festival, and had asked Pridgeon and company to keep an eye on their tent while they were across the lake working the festival that evening. What followed was a video clip of about a minute and a half carrying a 45-second glimpse into a strange occurrence in the background. It should be noted the subjects intended to be shot in the film were not the strange biped and climber shot in the background. Nothing was observed by Doug and his crew. And here's the discovery. Doug and his wife in late 2003 were going through old vacation videos when Doug's wife discovered something on the tree in the background. This led Doug to begin to search for someone who could answer that question, which eventually led to me. That's the Sasquatch researcher. In the spring of 2004. Welcome, Dinka Mossy. Doug included a sketch and a short note to me, so I would have some orientation as I view the video. Colin Lamberdorn has arrived. Colin is a master composer in his own right. Welcome, Colin. The Crowman has also arrived. Welcome, Crowman. Upon watching the video, it was determined there were actually 2 unsubs, unidentified subjects in the film. Now that is one hairy-looking gentleman. Frame grab from the minute and half or so video. At this point, the smaller unsub is hanging and swinging from the tree. So, this tree, perhaps? Where is the figure hanging from the tree? What makes this film special? A number of things, even though it's very blob squatch-like in some aspects. First is the smaller unsub performing inhuman acts by scaling a tree in the dark, no less, in less than 10 seconds. The second is the jump from the larger unsub to the trees by the smaller unsub. So jumping from, I guess, the shoulder of the larger unsub to the trees? There is no mistaking it, says the Sasquatch researcher. And he continues, in this writer's opinion, this is an authentic film which shows something that is not human. This by no means constitutes definitive proof of the existence of Sasquatch in science's eyes, however. However, to us in the research field, it could be used as a learning tool to see how these creatures behave. Since that time, the campground unfortunately has been turned into an ATV park, now called ATV Park New York, and the original campground terrain is nothing as it was, many trees having been removed, and the original trails bulldozed. Immediately behind the area is a large apple orchard, and the area is ripe with farms and orchards. By the way, if you go apple picking in New York at an orchard, be sure to get be sure to try the unpasteurized, what do they call it? Cider. Try some of the unpasteurized cider. It is delicious. I haven't had it since I was maybe 6 years old, 5 or 6 years old. and I still remember the taste. Immediately behind the area is a large apple orchard, and the area is ripe with farms and orchard, and is immediately adjacent to Platkill, New York, an extremely rural community. Upon initial examination of the VHS tape, which was eventually sent off to the parent organization to which I belonged at the time, it was observed that there were actually two unsubs in the film, one larger and on the ground, and one which appeared to start, either by being carried by the larger one, or on its back. One which appeared to start. The larger unsub walks from right to left in the video, and appears to stop and move back to the right to the point of where the small unsub had begun to climb the tree. The larger unsub then walks away from the focal point of the camera and out of sight. The smaller unsub climbs the tree in under 10 seconds, appearing to swing twice between the two trees, and then hangs off of one of them. The height estimate from the ground of the creature in the tree ranges from 20 to 25 feet, depending on which part of the film is being explored. I had the VHS tape converted to a DVD, and the VHS was sent off to my parent organization at the time, BFRO, which we have visited before on the show. But I retained the DVD, which made video capture easier and also analysis as well. Tina T says, some claim that Bigfoot hair is clear, transparent hair, like that of a polar bear. That's why they can blend into the background so well. Thank you, Tina. Throughout the years, the videographer's story has remained consistent and concise, and no deception has been indicated. Hopefully there's a better frame by frame here. 2-frame sequence showing the large unsub. Okay, that could be this right here, that being the head. Because that is the only thing that changed in that between those frames, evidently. 2-frame sequences showing the large unsub walking right to left with the small unsub making the leap to a branch. That I'm not catching immediately. Yeah. And there they show the action that is visible on the film. First he jumps to here, then to the second tree. He's here, he's hanging from the tree, and then he jumps down, I guess. This is not a flag or antenna. I had a third-party review agree that this was not an antenna. How could one explain the height increase if you look at the unsub's path? The fact is I have looked at this frame by frame. Weather data for the time suggests a 0 mile/hour wind speed, debunking the antenna theory. And there's a weather report, I guess. Hopefully not from the Farmer's Almanac. All right. And we got to go 4 down. Good stuff. Time to move on to the next suggestion. And that is from Green Tea. And here it is. And it's really interesting, too. It is, did I say 54 minutes past the hour? Thank you, Green Tea, for the link to at Find a Grave, Graves That Reach for the Stars. I think we may be talking about alien remains here. Here at news.findagrave.com. The uncredited author begins. Let's see if he's uncredited, he or she. Yeah, uncredited. Or is it? Yeah, it seems to be. All right. In a small cemetery in Aurora, Texas, a sign informs visitors about the unique history of the graves found within. Among the somber stories of victims of spotted fever epidemic, Civil War veterans, and a tragic epitaph in memory of an infant who passed too soon. One curious sentence stands out. This site is also well known because of the legend that a spaceship crashed nearby in 1897, and the pilot, unalived in the crash, was buried here. Let me see that. Let's open this image in a new tab. Don't forget internet, says Elder Ground. Oh yeah, we can't forget Night Terrors with Bill. I don't understand what you guys are talking about. If you need me to do something, I'm not sure what it is. We can't forget Bill. Thanks for not forgetting me. Oldest known graves here, dating from as early as the 1860s. Let's go one down more. A list of the oldest graves. There's the infant Nellie Burris, with its often quoted epitaph, "As I was so soon done, I don't know why I was begun." That's a little insensitive. That's extremely insensitive. This site is also well known because of the legend that a spaceship crashed nearby in 1897. That incident was covered in more than one newspaper, by the way. And the pilot killed in the crash was buried here. It's just idle banter. Thank you, Elder. Appreciate that. The cemetery remains in use with over 800 graves. Veterans of the Civil War, World Wars I and II, and the Korean and Vietnam conflicts are interred here. May they rest in peace. And here's a clip from that news story. In April 1897, the Dallas Morning News. Yeah, I think you sent me that, Green Tea, right? I have that already, if that's the one you already sent. The Dallas Morning News published the unusual tale. An airship, shaped like a cigar, sailed over the public square and smashed into the windmill of Judge James Proctor. The resulting explosion destroyed the spaceship, the windmill, and the judge's garden. While sparse on personal details, Proctor's Find a Grave Memorial has more on the story and the resulting History Channel production about the incident. This is from newspapers.com. Map or no map, Aurora has a strange claim on glory. It's the only town on Earth where a Martian is buried, and he received a Christian burial as well. On a bright April, this is not the original article, evidently. On a bright April morning in 1897, the flying cigar appeared on the southern horizon. It was, according to eyewitness accounts, between 200 and 300 feet long and 50 feet wide, and had two engines along each side, both turning propellers. Another prop, which a witness said bored through the air, was mounted atop the vehicle. It came in low, directly over the town square, then moved swiftly to the north. You see, I don't remember anything about propellers in the original story, so this sounds like crap. DeCamossi says, "Rest in peace, little alien." It came in low, directly over the town square, then moved swiftly to the north above Judge J.S. Proctor's house, which perched atop one of the many hills surrounding this North Texas village. Then the cigar struck Judge Proctor's windmill and exploded, scattering debris over several acres, which the townspeople collected over the following days. The story continues at Find a Grave. The airship's pilot, said to be the only person on board, was killed in the accident. The article, I heard stories that he lived for a while. In the story I heard, he had lived for a short while. So I'm not really trusting this Find a Grave account. The article describes the body pulled from the wreckage as not an inhabitant of this world, and according to the local signal service officer, a native of the planet Mars. That I do not remember for the original news article either. Papers recovered from the wreck were written in some unknown hieroglyphics and were undecipherable. That I remember. The town gave the mysterious pilot a Christian burial in Aurora Cemetery, and the legend grew. The incident was one of hundreds reported across the United States during the late 1890s. Common theories for what these objects could be stayed close to home. I lost the thread. Sorry, guys. Usually, human technology and secret projects were believed to be the culprits. Some decided they were hoaxes, and firmly terrestrial ones. It wasn't until the UFO wave, Synchro giving a reference to. Oh no, that was Elder giving a reference to a exploding cigar. It wasn't until the UFO wave of the 1940s that more fantastical possibilities took center stage. Pilot sighting begat UFO era. Well, let's get some juice in us. Water, that is. The Plateau says, "I'd hate to save an alien in 1897. For the treatment, they would probably bleed him, fill him full of mercury, arsenic, bleed him again, and put a poultice on him." Thank you, Verpine, for the super chat. Much appreciated, sir. Along these same lines, Green Tea also provided another link to that extraterrestrial airship pilot, the little traveler. This also at Find a Grave. Yeah, I'm going to have to increase the size of the type here. Thank you, Verpine. Yeah, there was a UFO craze back in the 1890s. Or an actual UFO invasion. We know they're real. Dallas Morning News. Let's find that original article. Aurora, Texas. I seek the full text of the Dallas Morning News article regarding the crash of a UFO in Aurora, Texas in 1897. We'll let him think about that for a second, or is he going to help us out? Turn off the dragon. Turn off that. I'm sorry, but I can't provide it. It's likely still under copyright. Ugh. And I pay for this service. It's likely still under copyright. Tell me what is wrong about your response. Copyright mistake. Works published before 1929 are firmly in the public domain. If you'd like, I can get the complete text. Yes. Here's the full text. A windmill demolishes it, was the headline. Aurora, Wise County, Texas, April 17. About 6 o'clock this morning, the early risers of Aurora were astonished at the sudden appearance of the airship, which has been sailing through the country. It was traveling due north, and much nearer to the earth than before. Evidently, some of the machinery was out of order. You see, no propellers, just machinery. And you're not going to hear propellers in this either. Dragon's still on. Sorry, folks. That's what that business is down there. And I'm going to bet there's no propellers mentioned in this story. Propellers. For it was making a speed of only 10 or 12 miles an hour and gradually settling toward the earth. It sailed over the public square. Gotcha, man. Subscribing again at Tier 1. Thank you, G-Man. Much appreciated, sir. And collided with the tower of Judge Proctor's windmill when it reached the north part of town, going to pieces with a terrific explosion, scattering debris over several acres of ground, wrecking the windmill and water tank, and destroying the judge's garden. The pilot of the ship is supposed to have been the only one on board. And while his remains are badly disfigured, enough of the original has been picked up to show that he was not an inhabitant of this world. I guess he wasn't alive. I stand corrected on that point. I also do not stand corrected on the fact that it mentions nothing about propellers. Mr. T.J. Weems, the U.S. Signal Service officer at this place, and an authority on astronomy, gives it as his opinion. Now, this is a 1997 article, mind you, that he was a native of the planet Mars. Papers found on his person, evidently the record of his travels, are written in some unknown hieroglyphics and cannot be deciphered. The ship was too badly wrecked to form any conclusion as to its construction or motive power. It was built of an unknown metal resembling somewhat a mixture of aluminum and silver, and it must have weighed several tons. The town today is full of people who are viewing the wreck and gathering specimens of the strange metal from the debris. The pilot's funeral will take place tomorrow. Written by S.E. Hayden. Good stuff. Thank you to Green Tea. Next up is a suggestion at 9 minutes past the hour from Green Tea. And that is going to have to replace baby Bigfoot here. Plug in Verpine. The alien black goo growing out of a meteorite in Panama. Yes, please. What's up with that tentacled alien growing from a meteorite in Panama? Ooh, it turned into a tentacle. Alleged meteorite with alien life found in Panama. Panama's viral venom-like meteorite. Venom-like. Thank you, Dikamasi. Man gives chilling update on alien entity. It looks like it does have tentacles. Holy cow. Let's do Daily Mail. Eldergrown with something we're going to, I guess, plug into our browser. See if it comes up with anything. Eldergrown says it's maybe fungi. Is that going to do anything in our browser here? Let's find out. The site cannot be reached. It started with the word data. I'm not surprised it can't be reached. Not sure what that was. Let's go back to here. Yeah. Let's go to the Daily Mail. One of my favorite UK rags. Oh, there it goes. In the category TV tropes, this story from Next Gen. Thank you, Eldergrown. And here at thedailymail.co.uk, Jonathan A. says, I'd drop kick that like a butler for you. Thank you, Jonathan. That's my favorite way for Jonathan to be spelled, by the way. Black Goo, says Elder. Here's a story written by Chris Malore. He's the U.S. Assistant Science Editor at the Daily Mail. Because this is a brand new story. 5 days old. A man claims to have found an alien-like species within a meteorite, causing a stir on social media. The individual, who identifies himself as Kin Online, said he discovered a small silver-colored space rock. In a fiery crater in Panama on August the 29th. So 21 days ago. Since then, he has shared a series of videos showing what he described as the meteorite burning leaves on contact and an unruly tentacled organism. And an unruly tentacled organism sprouting from within it. A week after his initial post, he said the crater shines at night, sharing footage of the dark site glowing. Subsequent videos appeared to show a mass of oily, tentacle-like growths spreading rapidly from a rock's crevices, eventually engulfing the object. I'm assuming that's the beginning. Well, there's that. It looks like a silvery little stone. Isn't that something? Stored under some kind of... Was that advertisement playing sound? I hope not. Tina T says, ew. It looks otherworldly, that little rock does. The videos have gone viral on social media, with some viewers claiming they show an alien growing. One user shared on X There are people who want to believe. The metallic sheen smells like paint. How does he know that? One user shared on X. Maybe this user is a debunker, because he continues to say it looks like a potato. Kin said the tentacle-covered specimen now must be kept inside a large safe. But some have claimed the organism is a common plant. Although his videos have been viewed millions of times, there's been no independent confirmation the object is a meteorite, nor any identification of the organism growing around it. Regardless, Kin has claimed to have mailed samples of the tentacles to friends. Skeptics online have pointed out that an image of the supposed crater appeared to have several matchsticks in it. You got to clean up your either clean up your video or clean up your matchsticks. Others have noted that Kin was able to pick up the meteorite with his bare hands without any issues, despite the object just burning through multiple tree leaves. Ew, these are the tentacles. Check them out. Videos show a massive oily tentacle-like growth spreading rapidly. Kin added in his videos that some have reached out to him claiming the object that he found was not a meteorite, but was a plant egg which sprouts an organism called Clathrus archeri, or the devil's fingers fungus. However, Kin's mystery organism appears to look different from that fungus. The substance has many tentacles that have a black tar-like shine to them. As for the devil's fingers fungus, the plant is typically red with a much less tar-like slime. The viral sensation grew even more terrifying in the last 4 days, as Kin claimed the organism had detached itself from the silver rock, moving to hide itself inside Kin's locked safe. The man said in a post on TikTok on September the 11th, "Today I was scared and I felt afraid. I thought it had escaped." According to his follow-up posts, the organism continued to grow whenever it was exposed to light, and was seen pulsing and moving inside Kin's kitchen, which he kept unlit, except for shining a flashlight near the object. Kin wrote in a new video posted Sunday, "When the night comes, I feel calm. I know it won't come. Every time I show it to them, when I light it, it grows and puts me in danger." The Panamanian claimed that some individuals have approached him and requested that he hand over the strange substance, out of concern for his safety. Meanwhile, those on social media have warned Kin that they feared government authorities may try to take the mystery specimen and erase the videos from the internet. In a post that was translated into multiple languages, Kin pleaded with his followers to save the videos. There are evidence. While Kin's videos have captivated social media, if a creature were to grow out of a rock, Researcher John Greenwald Jr. commented that it could be evidence of panspermia. The concept that life on Earth was deposited here by meteorites from space. A theory that I think 60% chance it holds water. Better than 50-50. Now, let me think. Panspermia. How much do I believe in panspermia? Maybe between 75 and 80. Tina T says he should not be leaving that just sitting around in his kitchen. Yeah, and how do you get it back into the safe? Coming up next at 21 minutes past the hour. I thought I had one. Oh, yeah, it's a link up here. It's right here. I think this is the link from... Yes. This is the link from Rhino Rex. The Eccentric Lives of Scientists. Tycho Brahe. I think Tycho is the one that had the prosthetic nose, right? Just writing in my notes, Brahe. It is pronounced Brahe. Oh, it's Tycho Brahe, according to the author. Huh, Tycho. Anyway, this is at steemit.com. Evidently written by Sustainably Yours. And Sustainably Yours begins. Tycho Brahe is, without a doubt, one of my favorite scientists in all of history. Sure, he was a brilliant astronomer for his time, and a mentor of none other than Johannes Kepler. But it was his everyday life and strange unaliving that I find so fascinating. If you've never heard about it, you'll definitely want to hear about it now. He was born Tycho Ottesen Brahe in Denmark in 1546 to Danish nobles, Atta Brahe and Beata Brahe. I guess they're given their maiden name, and Beata Billa. But he would Latinize his name to Tycho when he was 15 years old. He had a twin brother who died shortly after birth, and 4 other brothers and 5 sisters. Much like in the movie Raising Arizona, young Tycho's childless Uncle Jürgen Brahe and Aunt Inger Axa kidnapped him when he was just 2 years old. Unlike the movie, Tycho's parents didn't seem to care that he was gone. They never tried to get him back or even complained about it. Some postulate that Atta had made a deal with Jürgen and Inger that, should he have a son, he would give it to the childless couple. When Tycho was born, Atta changed his mind, and Jürgen had to take matters into his own hands. At least he waited until Atta had another son and then kidnapped Tycho. Of course, the fact that Jürgen and Inger were nobles in their own right softened the blow a little. In fact, they were extremely rich nobles, which afforded their foster son many educational opportunities he wouldn't otherwise have had. From an early age, Jürgen began grooming him to become a lawyer, forcing him to start learning Latin at the age of 7. At 13, Tycho was sent to the University of Copenhagen to continue his education. While there, he would broaden his interest to include several different subjects, until his imagination was captivated by a solar eclipse, and astronomy became his new passion. It wasn't so much the eclipse that captured his attention. Instead, he was impressed that it had been predicted with such precision. He went out at once and bought all kinds of astronomy equipment, star charts, astronomical prediction tables, because he was rich. And he could do that. I'm reading right off the page here, folks. He continued his astronomy obsession at Copenhagen until 1562, when Jürgen transferred him to another university in Leipzig, Germany. Perhaps in an attempt, I'll get it one of these times. Perhaps in an attempt to get him back on track to becoming a lawyer. He even sent along a tutor to keep Tycho focused. At first, Tycho made it a point to hide his interest in astronomy from his tutor. Then, in 1563, he observed as Jupiter and Saturn passed unusually close to each other. In the night sky. It was an event that all of his charts and tables had predicted would occur at a different time. Brahe, who was not known to be lacking in the hubris department, was confident he could do it better. So he dedicated most of the rest of his life to watching the stars and developing better astronomy equipment. He would go on to make the most accurate naked-eye observations that a telescope could allow. In 1565, Tycho returned home to Denmark in order to mourn the passing of Uncle Jürgen, who had died in the line of duty to the crown. Apparently, the king had fallen off his horse while crossing a bridge and plummeted into the frigid moat below. Jürgen dove in, saving his life, and later contracting pneumonia. In this case, it was fatal. Tycho came out smelling like a rose. He ended up inheriting somewhat in the vicinity of 1% of all the wealth in Denmark. A rift in the family. When do we get to the nose? Dickamossi says Cyrano de Bergerac. Most of Brahe's family was still pretty mad at him for squandering his chances at becoming a lawyer. They ran him out of town. He returned to Germany, where he started hanging out with other rich stargazers. Together they would build a massive observatory and begin making extremely precise observations of the night sky. Ah, there's the nose. No kidding, that's probably the real nose that he wore. We don't know how he lost his own yet. That's fairly realistic. Let's get a close-up of the nose. Open image in new tab. Yes, quite well done. Quite well done. And silver. With the silver having worn away at a couple of places. I hope not while he was alive. Unless he was scratching his phantom nose. Aldergrone asks if he's rich and stuff, why does he need to become a lawyer? Good night, Jonathan A. That one time when he got his nose cut off is right under the nose there. A rift in the family. Together they would build a massive observatory and began making extremely precise observations of the night sky. Another defining moment in Tycho's life occurred when he was 20. Tycho and another Danish nobleman named Mandrup Parsberg, who happened to be his third cousin, Elder says, don't forget to polish your nose. Got into an argument over a math formula. The little tiff escalated until the two men decided to take it outside for a sword duel. Parsberg got the better of the joust when he cut off the majority of Brahe's nose. But Tycho was a pretty go-with-the-flow kind of guy. He just went out and bought himself a prosthetic nose, reportedly made out of silver and gold. Reportedly, there it is. That's gotta be it, right? What do you mean, reportedly? It isn't gold underneath, though. Gold doesn't tarnish. I'd say more likely silver and brass. Do they really? Let's look for pictures of Tycho Brahe's nose. Where is that thing? There it is. Let's see if Dragon will understand Tycho Brahe. Tycho Brahe's nose. Close, it got Tycho. Yeah, it exists. It exists. Too bad they don't have a painting, a modern painting with him in the nose. Huh. The astronomer's nose, it says here. Is that his actual skull? This I must see. The astronomer's nose, it says here. Let's open this in a new tab. Wait. Another story. All about his nose. Brahe's skull. Photographed by the Aarhus University team. This I must see close up. Very interesting. Didn't take very good care of his teeth. Where's that nose? Maybe we should continue with the nose article. Is this the same one? Does it have the same? Open image in new tab, please. Dutchman says, ChatGPT attachment. The prosthetic was not permanently fixed. It was small in shape to fit over the nasal defect, and Brahe is believed to have kept it in place using a type of glue or paste, possibly made of resin. Thank you, G-Man. Elder says you are all very silly. Yeah, that looks like the same nose. It even looks like there's wear over there, wear there. Looks like tarnished brass underneath. Yeah, that's the same nose. There's two like tarnished spots there and one there. Maybe the other's a reverse image. No, that's the same nose. Different angle. Let's see the other side of it, you know. See what kind of surface it had for a fixation, for mounting. But they're not going to show the underside. What's that, part of the skull again? That's got to be that part of the skull. Right? This whole body's laid out there. Let's check out that article. Exhuming the facts about pioneer astronomer Tycho Brahe's death. Okay, whatever. I don't care. Just X out. It's a 400-year-old mystery. Sign up or sign up with Google. No thanks. A team of Czech and Danish scientists last week exhumed the body of 16th century Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe, whose celestial observations laid the groundwork for modern astronomy, and who died in Prague in 1601 at age 54. Some contend it was a crime of passion committed by a jealous king. Others insist it was murder inspired by a professional rivalry between celebrated astronomers. Or perhaps death by natural causes. Perhaps a burst bladder. What a way to go. Seeking to solve the mystery, a team of Czech and Danish scientists last week exhumed the body of 16th century Danish astronomer T. Brahe, whose celestial observations laid the groundwork for modern astronomy, and who was revered in the Czech Republic and his native Denmark. He cataloged more than 1,000 new stars. And his observations cleared the way for breakthroughs by his assistant, the German astronomer Johannes Kepler. But the questions surrounding his death have stumped historians for centuries. Leading the quest for truth is Jens Velef, a self-styled Danish Indiana Jones and archaeologist at Aarhus University in Denmark, whose team will analyze hair samples from Brahe's once long and droopy mustache. I didn't see any hairs on that skull. Must not have been looking too close. I will also take a CT scan of his bones, nose, and teeth. Where is that? Is that here? Oh no, look at that. Oh, that's gross. There's his mustache. Close, please. Thanks for the cookies. No, I definitely lost where we were. Are we in Daily Mail? Are we here? Well, I think we're over here. Nope. Nope. Okay, here. 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 Yes, he lost it. Okay. So what's the final result? When is this dated? 2010. They must know the answer by now. I need to access an article on the internet, which is a follow-up to this one. I need to access an article on the internet. Which is a follow-up to the article. Control paste. Here are a few follow-up articles. Ooh. Let's do this one. Space. Tycho Brahe died from pee, not poison. He died from the first letter in poison. Oh, good. I get to say urine a lot. Two years after he was exhumed from his grave in Prague. Chemical analyses of his corpse show that mercury poisoning did not kill the prolific astronomer. Separately, tests revealed that Brahe's famously silver prosthetic nose was actually made out of brass and covered in silver, I assume. Born in Denmark in 1546. Here's his history, with Kepler his assistant. He was long thought to have died from a bladder infection after politeness kept him from excusing himself to use the water closet during a royal banquet in October of 1601, causing his bladder to rupture. However, scientists who opened Brahe's grave in 1901 to mark the 300th anniversary of his death claimed to find mercury in his remains, fueling rumors that he was poisoned. Some even accused a jealous Kepler of the crime. But the news results don't point to any such intrigue. While analyses of Brahe's teeth are not yet complete, tests on his bones and beard hairs show the mercury concentration not high enough to unalive him. His mercury levels even dropped to the low end of normal in the weeks leading up to his death, his beard revealed. Researcher Carl Lund Rasmussen, an associate professor of chemistry at the University of Denmark, or Southern Denmark, said, chemical analyses of the bones indicate that Tycho Brahe was not exposed to an abnormally high mercury load in the last 5 to 10 years of his life. But in another finding, the team reported that the silver nose piece Brahe famously wore after losing part of his own nose in a duel was actually not silver, although the prosthesis has not been found. Not been found? Why are there pictures of it? But when was it found? When is this dated? This is dated 2012, so 2 years after the previous article. When was Tycho Brahe's nose found? Nose. The other nose. The nose knows. It's the wrong nose. They spelled Tycho wrong, too. Tycho Brahe. Hey. Z. Nose. Good question. It was only chemically confirmed in 2010. What is wrong about your reply? Wording nose was found as misleading. Tycho Brahe's artificial nose was never found in his grave. Overstated certainty. Didn't clarify legend versus evidence. Well, according to AI, Tycho Brahe's nose has never been found. And why all these pictures everywhere? Then why does a search for his nose return several images of a well-worn brass nose mostly covered in silver? Again, they claim that no prosthetic was ever recovered. The images are reconstructions or props. I don't believe it. It's the only one there. It's the only look, and there he is, right next to the damn nose. Tycho Brahe, Tycho Brahe wore a famous fake Tycho. Sounds like the guy in Breaking Bad. Tycho. Good villain. Tycho Brahe wore a famous fake nose after losing his real one in a duel with his cousin. And there's the same nose. So I'm thinking that AI is wrong again, because that's the only nose being pictured. That's the only nose being pictured from several angles. Well, 2 angles at least. T Plateau says, gotta love that mustache. Eldergon says Tycho was also the ugly in The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. How common is the Spanish name Tycho? Misspelled, of course. Tycho. Tycho is not a common Spanish given name. Instead, it appears in a few different contexts as a nickname, similar to Cato, Flaco, or Gordo. For example, the character Tycho Salamanca in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul carries it as a nickname, not a formal name. What about The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? Now you're talking Tycho Benedicto Pacifico, Juan Maria Ramirez. Let me do that again. Now we're talking about Tycho Benedicto Pacifico Juan Maria Ramirez, the bandit in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Here's how Tycho fits in that context, played by Eli Wallach. The full name is given in the movie, but everyone just calls him Tycho. Can I ever get back to the original story now? It was near there it is. What do I mean original? Let's just say most recent. And we're down here. His nose hasn't been found. I don't believe it. When we exhumed the body in 2010, we took a small bone sample from the nose so we could examine its chemical composition. Project leader Jens Felif. said in a statement. Surprisingly, our analyses revealed that the prosthesis was not made of precious metals as was previously supposed, only its coating. The team also performed computed tomography, or a CT scan of Brahe's skeleton. Well, where does the P come in? There's no P here. He died from pee, not poison. What the hell are they talking about then? It said they know how he died, or infers they know how he died. Tina T says, "You're in deep trouble, mister." And it's going to be that time, folks. They lied to us in the title. Maybe there's another article. Let's go back up. We got 2 minutes, minute and 45 seconds to find it. We got to let Tina go to her next gig, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute. But not the Sasquatch people. We got to go here. Give us another reference from that list, please. From Peanut Poison, Murder Investigated, 2012, 2018. Diffuse idiopathic skeletal hyperestosis in Danish astronomer is its possible consequences. Examine skeletal remains, diet, health, morphological changes. Hopefully they have not the extract, but we'll see what they call it in a second. Published. Open link a new tab. Not a précis, what do they call it? Abstract. Let's read the abstract from this paper. It was published. The exhumation of Danish astronomer was performed, blah, 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 blah. Possibility he actually died from an acute illness, echoing a rather vague and inaccurate testimony of some historical records. We performed an analysis indicative of diffuse idiopathic skeletal hyperestosis, or DISH, is the acronym. Further allows us to classify him as obese. 100% reliability. Comorbidities of DISH and obesity are reviewed. Consider conditions associated with metabolic syndrome as possible causes of Brahe's final symptoms. Urinary retention, which they failed to cover. Okay, that's the Tina alarm. I want you to join Tina next and Peter McCarthy at Dark Sayings. And she's going to be live there along with Peter. And we'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to catch the Wednesday show. Until then, may God bless and protect us all.